This is KCBD News Channel 11 at 10.
Think if your kid was the one crossing that street and you didn't, another parent didn't stop and hit your child.
A parent's nightmare, how to keep your kids safe now that school is back in session.
Right now, school crosswalks are quiet, but they will be bustling again in a few short hours. Tonight, a reminder about increased safety measures in school zones.
After two cars in Austin didn't stop for a school bus and hit two kids as they crossed the street. Fortunately, neither boy was seriously hurt. Here on the South Plains, Lubbock ISD police say school zone violations are not only dangerous, but costly. Using your cell phone in a school zone could cost you up to $200. New details tonight from the EPA. The agency says recent quakes in North Texas could be linked to oil and gas activity. Now take a look at this map from drillingmaps.com. These green dots show where companies are drilling in Texas, and the blue ones show that there has been a health and safety issue reported. The Texas Tribune says federal regulators base their report around the Texas Railroad Commission. And Karen, you're looking more in depth into the EPA's report on the commission.
That's right, Abner. In 2014, the Texas Railroad Commission hired a seismologist and approved regulations requiring well operators to submit more geographical information. The Texas Tribune says the EPA commended the Railroad Commission for having regulations, but says the commission needs to acknowledge that fracking could be a factor in those recent quakes.
Right now, the migrant rescue operation is calling on the UN for a 48-hour humanitarian truce in Syria. The UN says it will focus on delivering aid to the city of Aleppo, which has become the focus of fighting in the country's 5-year civil war. Officials say before any aid can begin, though, they need commitments from all parties involved in the war. Now take a look at this dramatic video from Iraq. Local TV released video of security forces stopping a would-be 14-year-old suicide bomber. You can see the explosive belt around his waist. The vest was safely dismantled. No one was injured. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attempted attack.
This is KCBD News Channel 11 at 10.
Heavy rain and flash flooding slammed Lubbock this afternoon, and parts of Lubbock County also saw water rushing over streets, swallowing them whole, leaving many people to depend on others to get where they needed to go. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Governor Abbott has now declared a state of disaster in 31 counties, including Lubbock.
In his statement, Abbott says the state of Texas stands ready to assist all counties affected by severe weather and has dedicated the resources necessary to ensure the safety of those at risk. The governor also thanked first responders for their service.
And now that we're getting a break from storms and raging floodwaters, could we still get more rain in the morning?
John joins us from the First Alert Forecast Center to tell us. John?
Karen and Abner, we can actually see some precipitation back in the Lubbock area within the next hour or so, but there's still a chance of showers, thunder showers tonight, and some scattered showers, thunderstorms likely through midday tomorrow. Karen and Abner.
All right, thank you, John. And to stay up to date with everything our First Alert weather team is tracking in your area, download the KCBD weather app. You can also use it to send pictures of what's happening in your neighborhood through this app. It's free and easy to download. Just search KCBD in your app store.
There were several areas of town that saw the worst of the floods today.
The area around the South Plains Mall was underwater for much of the afternoon, and that's where we find KCBD News Channel 11's Presley Fowler tonight. Presley?
Well, Karen and Abner, we're out here just off of Slide Road and 57th Street. You can see the back of the parking lot at the mall behind me. There is still water there. There are still some cars that are submerged as well. Now the cleanup will begin not only for these roads, but also for residents in this area. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't just the carpet in the living room. They'll also have to replace the carpet in the bedrooms as well. But tonight, they're thankful that everyone is safe and they have some family that they can stay with in town this evening. Karen and Abner, back to you.
Thank you, Presley. The depth of the high water caught many drivers by surprise in areas like 50th and the West Loop. And only on News Channel 11, we talked to the owner of this F-350 that was swept off the road and into a ditch where it was hood deep in water. The owner was trapped in the truck and had to break a window to swim free.
But the water just took it. The truck didn't have no chance.
What did you think when you started getting swept away? Like,
I thought I could overpower it. I thought I could just put it on lower gear and go, but that water's too strong.
Friends of Josh Cervantes came soon after and hooked his truck up to theirs. They pulled it up the embankment onto the loop. Cervantes says he's relieved because he didn't think he'd be able to get the truck out today.
There's water, truck flooded, but we've got it pulled out. We're trying to go get it fixed. Let's see what happens. Probably the motor's starting to shut down, but it happens.
Cervantes believes his truck was totaled, and he says today's events left him in shock.
Now take a look at this drone video. It's footage powered by Titan Aerial taken near Walmart off 4th Street in Frankfort. Watch as vehicles navigate around a stalled car in the floodwaters. This was a common scene around Lubbock as vehicles attempted to cross high water, getting swept away. Some carried more than 100 feet before coming to a stop. Over at 29th in Chicago, a majority of Mahon Park was underwater also today. And here you can see a park bench peeking out from high water, keeping folks away from that area for the rest of the day.
Lubbock was not the only South Plains community hit with flash flooding. Take a look at these pictures from shallow water. You can see water up to the bumpers of some cars and reaching to the garage doors of some homes. It also surrounded the baseball field.
And during the flooding, our local first responders were called to rescue many times. Our meteorologist Carrie Allen caught this video along Spur 327, helping a woman through the floodwaters. Rains flooded the frontage road there, causing cars to stall. And as you can imagine, fire and police departments were very busy this afternoon. And
while many were getting stuck in the flood zone, some people got creative on how they were going to get around. At Quaker Avenue in the South Loop, near Leroy Elmore Park, a few residents got into their kayaks. Josh Brown says he lives nearby, and a few friends suggested taking their kayaks out for a spin.
I said, hey, let's go kayaking. So we went from Dupree Park, went all the way down and into this park.
Typically a very busy intersection, this group of friends tried to have some fun while the floods lasted.
Now let's talk about food. You may have been one of the first to eat at Lubbock's newest Chick-fil-A location, but the restaurant is actually planning a grand opening at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. You'll find the new Chick-fil-A at 82nd Street and University. And despite the rain and floodwaters today, some folks are already lined up, even in tents, because the first 100 people who walk through the door get a gift card for free Chick-fil-A for a year. It's all part of the grand opening for a new location. We talked to the first person in line, and she said the rain is nothing compared to her love for the original chicken sandwich.
$364 worth of free food is totally worth it, especially since it's Chick-fil-A.
This new location is bringing 90 new jobs to the hub city. Doors will open at 6 tomorrow morning.
Flooding in different parts of the state has left many Texas rivers at historic levels. Northeast of San Antonio, floodwaters swept this Jeep down the river when a wall of water rushed through this canyon. Torrential rains over the past week have drenched the state, prompting mandatory evacuations in some places. The Brazos River has swelled to its highest levels in more than a century, and several others in the southeast part of the state have reached flood stage levels. And stay with us right here on KCBD News Channel 11 for everything you need to know about flooding here on the South Plains as well as across the state. We'll bring you the latest as it happens on Daybreak today as well as on our app.
One more thing, though, closer to home at Klondike ISD, they say the storm they experienced last night caused some damage at the school. Take a look at this. A carport flew across the school's property and damaged the playground. School officials estimate about $5,000 worth of damage was caused. The swing set was completely uprooted and tangled into the carport. Right now, officials say they are waiting on the insurance company before any cleanup efforts begin. Still to come health-wise, a Lubbock mother calls it an unbelievable 40th birthday surprise.
But first, one of the Texas Tech football players or former players who was released from the team last month was arrested. We'll tell you about the charge. You're watching KCBD News Channel 11 at 10. A second former Texas Tech football player accused in a home burglary was arrested today.
Former redshirt freshman offensive lineman Trace Allison is charged now with burglary of a habitation. He was booked into the Lubbock County Detention Center and released on a $5,000 bond today. Allison was listed as a suspect in the warrant for Robert James Castaneda, who was taken into custody last week. 3 players were released from the team last month for failure to uphold student-athlete expectations.
We're following breaking news right now. A person has been hit by a car near 41st and Avenue Q. That's a live picture you're looking at right now. When our crews arrived at the scene, A body was in the street, they report to us. We will continue to update you when we learn more.
And John, after all the water we've seen today, a lot of people do not want to hear more rain tomorrow. Is that still the case?
It's still the case, coming up on Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you, John. That is our report. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.